Hamlet is the most famous play by Shakespeare. This story is very popular, so you may have heard the phrase, to be or not to be. Yes, these are the words spoken by Hamlet. William Shakespeare's Hamlet is a tragic tale of revenge. Let's draw it now. Hamlet's background is Denmark. Bernardo and Marcellus, who are members of the King's Guard, saw a ghost while on watch in the castle tower at midnight. They reported this to Horatio, a friend of Hamlet. Horatio did not believe it at first, but the next day he went with them and saw the ghost. The ghost resembled the former king, closely resembling Hamlet's father, the king who had recently died. Horatio boldly confronted the ghost and demanded it to reveal why it had appeared. The ghost tried to say something, but then a rooster crowed and the ghost disappeared. Meanwhile, Claudius, who is Hamlet's uncle, became the king of Denmark. When Hamlet's father, the former king, suddenly passed away, his younger brother, Claudius, inherited the throne and married Gertrude, who was the former king's wife. Claudius became both Hamlet's uncle and stepfather. After becoming king, Claudius hastily dispatched a letter to the king of Norway because similar events were occurring there, and Denmark could have been in danger. The king of Norway had also died, and his brother inherited the throne. Meanwhile, Fortinbras, the son of the former king, attempted to attack Denmark. So Claudius sent a letter asking Norway's king to make Fortinbras stop. Hamlet was still mourning the death of his father. He was suffering even more because his uncle had taken his father's throne, and his mother had married his uncle less than a month after his father's funeral. Bernardo, Marcellus, and Horatio went to the Hamlet and told him about the ghost that resembled the former king. Late at night, Hamlet went to the watchtower with them and saw the ghost. The ghost gestured for Hamlet to follow, and Hamlet followed it alone. The ghost revealed the secret of its death. It was a former king, and although it had been announced that he died from a snake bite in the garden, he was actually poisoned by his younger brother, Claudius. He was deprived of his life, throne, and queen. The ghost asked Hamlet for revenge and then disappeared. Hamlet ordered Horatio and Marcellus to keep the story of the ghost a secret and vowed to seek revenge. Chief Counselor Polonius was trusted by Claudius. He had a daughter named Ophelia. Hamlet had expressed his affection for her several times. However, Polonius warned Ophelia that Hamlet's actions were not serious. One day, Ophelia told Polonius that Hamlet came dressed strangely and hugged her. Hamlet was suffering from his situation and also pretending to be mad for revenge. So Polonius thought he was insane. Then envoys who were sent to Norway returned. They brought news that Fortinbras would no longer attack Denmark after the king of Norway told him not to. Polonius reported this to the king, also mentioning that Hamlet was insane. However, the king did not believe that Hamlet was insane. Polonius suggested that since Hamlet had feelings for his daughter, they could use this as bait to observe Hamlet's behavior directly. Meanwhile, as Hamlet pondered, he wanted to confirm whether his uncle truly murdered his father. Hamlet asked the troupe, who happened to be visiting the royal court at the time, to perform a play depicting the murder of his father. The title, The Mousetrap, was chosen by Hamlet. Hamlet invited the king and the queen and proceeded with the play. After watching the play, the king started to feel anxious, and the queen thought that the king was angry. The queen thought Hamlet was rude, so she called him to scold him. At that time, Polonius, who was with the queen, hid behind the curtain, asking her to scold Hamlet sternly. When Hamlet came to the queen's chamber, the queen scolded him, but Hamlet acted as if he were insane. The queen became frightened by his behavior and screamed. Then Polonius, who thought the queen was in danger, shouted from behind the curtain, and Hamlet stepped through the curtain with his sword. Polonius lost his life. Hamlet accused the queen of marrying his uncle Claudius, who killed his father, and criticized her for marrying him. The queen suffered after hearing what he said. Then the ghost appeared again and told him to protect the suffering queen before disappearing once more. Only Hamlet could see the ghost, so to the queen, it seemed like Hamlet was completely mad. The king thought that Hamlet killed Polonius because he was mad, so he sent Hamlet to England with Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, who were his old school friends. The king wrote a letter to the King of England asking him to kill Hamlet and gave it to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern. Hamlet, being sent to England, encountered Fortinbras's army. Fortinbras's army on its way to conquer Poland. He resolved to take action after seeing Fortinbras raise an army for his honor, unlike himself, who had done nothing despite needing to avenge his father. Shortly after, Horatio received a letter from Hamlet. Horatio delivered the letter to the king, as instructed in the letter. The king realized from the letter that Hamlet had not died in England and was returning. The king sought out Laertes, the son of Polonius. Laertes was in France when Polonius died, but he returned to Denmark to seek revenge after learning of his father's death. The king, knowing that Laertes was skilled with a sword, made a plan to propose a formal fencing match between him and Hamlet when Hamlet returned. The king suggested this to Laertes as a means to avenge his father. Laertes also made a plan to coat his sword with deadly poison so that even a scratch would be enough to kill Hamlet. They also planned to add poison to Hamlet's cup. While they were discussing the match, the queen came to them with the news that Ophelia had committed suicide. Ophelia couldn't stand the truth that Hamlet, whom she loved, had gone mad and killed her father. Laertes went to the grave for Ophelia's funeral and cursed Hamlet, mourning her death. Hamlet happened to be at the grave and overheard Laertes. He revealed himself, declaring that he was the Prince of Denmark and challenged Laertes to a duel. However, the king and the queen intervened and separated Hamlet and Laertes, believing that Hamlet was not in his right mind. Hamlet met Horatio and recounted his story of escaping from the ship bound for England. While the sailors were asleep, he noticed the letter, confirming that the king had asked the King of England to kill him. Hamlet had the former king's seal, so he changed the letter to ask the King of England to kill the bearers of the letter instead. In the end, Rosencrantz and Guildenstern died, and Hamlet was able to return. The king arranged a place for the duel between Hamlet and Laertes. The duel began, and the king poisoned Hamlet's wine glass. Early on, Laertes allowed Hamlet to score points. The king offered wine to Hamlet, but Hamlet did not drink it, focusing instead on the duel. Then, the queen drank from Hamlet's glass, without the king having a chance to stop her. The duel continued, with Laertes stabbing Hamlet. However, during the struggle, their swords were exchanged. The king, seeing this, ordered them to be separated in anger, but Hamlet managed to wound Laertes. At the same time, the queen fell down. The queen stated that there was poison in the wine cup, and Laertes confessed that his sword was covered with poison. After hearing about the poison on the sword, Hamlet stabbed the king. People who didn't know the truth thought Hamlet caused a rebellion and shouted treason as they ran away. Laertes, the king, and then Hamlet died one after another. Hamlet told Horatio, who was trying to die alongside him, to live and tell the truth of the events. At that moment, Prince Fortinbras, who had just returned after conquering Poland, arrived, and Horatio briefed him on the situation. Fortinbras ordered a full military funeral for Hamlet, and thus the play came to an end. The play Hamlet is a tragedy that depicts revenge against his uncle who killed his father. Hamlet is an interesting story with distinctive characters. Most of the main characters meet tragic ends. Among them, although he doesn't appear frequently, Fortinbras is known as a character who contrasts with Hamlet. It's like watching a thrilling movie, making it literature you can enjoy on a boring weekend. Thank you for watching this video, and I'll come back with other maps.